Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll in for Maya Trabulsi. For the first time, researchers say they've confirmed pollution in the Tijuana River is in the air people breathe. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga says they're connecting the pollutants to symptoms like headaches, nausea, and breathing issues.
Daniel Rees lives in Nestor, about a mile away from the Tijuana River. That's where researchers have measured the largest source of toxic gases and chemicals linked to sewage. He says the rotten egg smell impacts how he lives.
Usually when I come home at night, I try to take my dog, like you just saw, out for a walk once I get home. But it would get so bad that I was like, nope, we can't go back. We can't be going outside because I don't want to go to sleep with the headache. I'm just going to get like insomnia, even worse.
Rees has long suspected that these pollutants cause his headaches and ruin his walks with his dog Sokka. New research led by UC San Diego's Scripps Institution of Oceanography makes a link from those symptoms to toxic gases like hydrogen sulfide in the air. The community helped researchers identify where to look.
They started talking, to the community and hearing all of their experiences of headaches, nausea, they can't sleep, they have anxiety. And so this community they triangulated the conversation and said, why are you at the ocean? It's over here. And they helped my group find what we now refer to as the hot spot.
Scripps professor Kim Prather is one of the study's co-authors. She says air pollution measurements collected last year at this hotspot in the river may help explain why and where pollutants become airborne.
When the flows of the river were high, that leads to turbulence. That turbulence looks just like a breaking wave. It's aerosolization. So that's a place where the aerosols and the gases can get out most efficiently.
Prather says the problem needs to be fixed. San Diego County Supervisor Paloma Aguirre agrees. She is calling on the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board and the county to reduce turbulence at the hotspot to lessen airborne hazards. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
Well, we've had a little bit of moisture lingering around over the past few days, but we're saying goodbye to that. And tonight, it's partly to mostly cloudy. 71 for the low in the city as we move our way into the holiday weekend. What's going to be changing for us? I'll have that full forecast coming up.
Governor Gavin Newsom today announced he's deploying new California Highway Patrol crime suppression teams to several regions, including San Diego. At a news conference, Newsom pointed to the success of a similar approach in Oakland and said his plan differs from President Trump's controversial National Guard deployments.
Is that we're doing it in partnership with our local communities. We did it in partnership with the Biden administration prior. We're not talking about the nationalization, the militarization of the Guard and militarizing United States cities.
State officials say that statewide in 2024, property crime fell 8.5% and violent crime dropped 4.5%. City crews are now cleaning up homeless encampments in areas of downtown San Diego that used to be out of reach. KPBS reporter Katie Anasta says that also means the city's outreach workers are making more offers of shelter to people living near freeways, but few are accepting.
For the last couple of years, more and more people have been camping along San Diego's freeways. On city sidewalks, they're told to move every couple of days. At on-ramps and underpasses, they found a way to stay for weeks at a time. City leaders say that gives people fewer opportunities to accept help.
If someone is left somewhere for months at a time, they build an area, they build a community, they build all this stuff, and it's really hard to get people to say, hey, would you like to drop all that right now and come to a place that you don't know? That's a very hard thing to get someone to do that's been out for a long time.
A new agreement with the California Department of Transportation is giving the city more access to those encampments. For the next year, the state will reimburse the city up to $400,000 for clearing encampments along 5 miles of freeway through downtown, Little Italy, Sherman Heights, East Village, and Barrio Logan.
Rather than doing like the whole San Diego area and having to contribute so many resources that we truly don't have to cover that many miles of freeway, we knew that we could at least commit to our hardest areas, which are downtown.
So far, the city says it's cleared 57 encampments and more than 88,000 pounds of trash along freeways. Just 16 people have accepted offers of shelter and support services.
But I would say it is a low percentage that at this point are saying yes.
On a recent morning, city crews cleaned up trash and belongings left behind by campers on a patch of dirt next to an on-ramp to Interstate 5. Juan Carlos Rivera declined the offer of shelter. He didn't want to show his face on camera.
A lot of us got a lot of stuff. We're not willing to give up yet.
He says he's been homeless for a year and a half. He has arthritis in his knees and uses a wheelchair. He's already lost many of his belongings.
Like right now, I don't even have a tent. Somebody stole it.
Father Joe's Village's street health team also helps people like Rivera. Jenny Wilkins leads the team. She says their patients don't know where to go.
Shelter beds are not readily accessible. They're not always available, so it's not like they can just decide to move into shelter if there's no bed available. So it's been really just kind of a lot of tension in the community overall.
In the last year, the city's shelter system lost hundreds of beds, and just 12% of people referred to shelter got it. At the same time,
we saw the need increase by 15% over the year. Sorry, it's not better news.
San Diego is just one city with encampments near freeways and just one city working with Caltrans to remove them. Riverside announced a 2-year agreement with Caltrans earlier this month. Chula Vista is pursuing one too. In the meantime, San Diego's city workers are making their rounds, picking up trash and making contact with people living on the fringes. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
San Diego community colleges are raising the alarm over a lawsuit filed by conservative activists in Tennessee. KPBS reporter Corey Suzuki says it's targeting federal support for colleges that serve Latino students.
The lawsuit was filed in June by the conservative activist group Students for Fair Admissions, the same group that sued Harvard, leading the Supreme Court to strike down affirmative action. This time, the group is targeting a federal program called the Hispanic Serving Institutions, which gives grants to colleges where more than a quarter of students identify as Latino.
Every one of our colleges in this region is federally designated as a Hispanic Serving Institution.
Mark Sanchez is the superintendent of Southwestern College in Chula Vista. At a press conference today, he said their federal funding goes to support a variety of programs.
Expanding STEM curriculum and healthcare programs, strengthening advising and retention, and building the workforce that California and the San Diego region depends on.
The case is part of a broader effort by conservative activists to eliminate any federal efforts to address a history of systemic racism in the U.S. California is home to the largest number of Hispanic serving institutions in the country. Officials said the lawsuit targets more than $15 million in federal funding for community colleges in San Diego and Imperial County. Southwestern alone receives around $4.5 million. Mercedes Robles is a sophomore at Southwestern and the student representative on the Board of Trustees. She worries the suit could undermine support for binational students who cross the border to attend school in California.
With everything going on, deportations, people fearing for their lives, for their families, and then this is just very targeting towards our community, towards our Hispanic community, towards our immigrant community.
Late last month, the Department of Justice said they would not defend the Hispanic Serving Institution program in court, leaving its future unclear. In Chula Vista, Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
A new congressional district map is going before voters this November. KPBS Public Matters reporter Jake Gatta has a look at how San Diego's 5 congressional seats could change if the map is approved.
Voters will decide if California gets a new congressional map ahead of the midterm elections. Governor Newsom said it's in response to Texas redrawing its map. Here's what it would mean in San Diego. If you live in East County, you're probably in California's 48th district, represented by Darrell Issa. He's one of the 5 Republicans Newsom's map targets. Newsom wants to flip Issa's district to Democrats. It'll do that by carving out big parts of the district and putting them in seats held by Democrats. then putting some parts of Democratic districts into the 48th, which means the balance of voters would change a lot. Right now, 42% of registered voters in the 48th district are Republicans and 28% are Democrats. In the new map, only 29% would be Republicans and 39% would be Democrats. So if you used to live in ICE's district, you might find yourself in either Sarah Jacobs' 51st or Juan Vargas' 52nd next fall. Both of them are Democrats. Or you could end up in the 50th held by Democrat Scott Peters. The 50th would go from 42% Democrats and 26% Republicans to just 36% Democrats and 32% Republicans. Basically a toss-up. Because you can't just make voters disappear. If you take them out of one district, they'd have to go somewhere. Here's what Rep. Peters said about the challenge of reaching a new group of voters.
Look, I like the district I have. It's tremendous. I prefer not to change it. It's also, it's a little bit more democratic than the map that they've given me, which is what happens when gerrymandering happens. So, but I'm willing to be a team player, and I've represented Poway before. I can do it again.
It's way too early to make predictions for 2026, but based on where you live, your vote could decide who controls Congress for the next 2 years.
Jake Gatta with that report. Public Matters is a partnership between KPBS, iNewsSource, and Voice of San Diego. You can see more of our stories at kpbs.org/Public Matters. Ridership on San Diego's Trolley network grew by more than 7% over the past year, but KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says one of the newest stations is also one of the least popular.
Go to the Claremont Drive trolley station and you'll see why it attracts fewer passengers than any other station on the Blue Line. The station opened 4 years ago as part of the $2 billion Blue Line extension. It's close to Mission Bay Park, though getting there requires a noisy and dangerous walk over the I-5 freeway. The station is also surrounded by low-density development, a result of the city's restrictive zoning.
You know, a lot of people think, oh, rail transit's a good thing, it'll move people quickly, but it's only good depending on the land use around it.
Ethan Elkind is climate director at UC Berkeley's Center for Law, Energy, and the Environment. He authored a study 10 years ago analyzing the walkability around rail stops in California and found San Diego has some of the worst in the state. Elkind says it's good the city has zoned for higher density immediately next to the Claremont Drive station. But he says it's not ideal. Trying to force transit-oriented development into such a small area, he says, can lead to unintended consequences that are bad for housing affordability and transit ridership.
Since you're so artificially suppressing the supply of apartments, you're now creating a concentrated amount of demand, like focusing the sunlight and a magnifying glass, you know, on one parcel or a series of parcels around the station area. So you're more likely to get just high-end type housing rather than, you know, more not necessarily subsidized affordable, but, you know, more affordable types of apartment units.
Elkind says zoning for apartments in more areas close to the trolley would deliver more affordable housing faster. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The San Diego company General Atomics is celebrating their shipment of a device that will make nuclear fusion possible. KPBS Sci-Tech reporter Thomas Fudge tells us about fusion energy and the world's most powerful magnet.
The event took place in a building the size of an airplane hangar in Poway, attended by scientists and local VIPs. All the fuss was about this big round piece of metal.
General Atomics is working with an international team that is creating a fusion power facility in France, and they are sending to France a powerful tool that is pretty spectacular.
What is it? Well, imagine a magnet so powerful it could lift an aircraft carrier out of the water. The device on display at General Atomics was only 1/6 of the assembly. The other 5 parts will be stacked on top of it, making it the height of a 5-story building. Those 5 other parts are already on their way to France to the fusion plant called ITER. John Smith has been working on this magnet since it was conceived in 2011. He says the huge magnetic force is needed to contain fusion reactions like the ones that occur on the sun.
The plasma that is replicating what happens on the sun gets to 10 times hotter than the sun itself. And so how do you contain something that hot? So what we do is create a magnetic bottle with the series of magnets. It's a magnetic bottle that holds this plasma, which where the fusion reactions occur in order to keep it from touching anything and melting and burning things out.
Fusion energy is created by smashing atoms together, fusing them. The potential of fusion energy has been realized since the end of World War II, but today the goal seems within reach, and it means having a virtually limitless supply of clean energy. Smith says getting there is vital to running data centers for artificial intelligence and all those electric cars we're going to be driving.
Everything that we're doing today says our electricity demand in the world is only going to go up. That's why fusion is needed. You need to have some type of clean, limitless energy source to power the future of the world.
There are still technical challenges to figure out. Fusion energy also requires financial investments and construction of expensive power plants. But people at General Atomics say that financial support system is taking shape.
The fusion ecosystem is undergoing a rapid change. We have several private companies that are working closely with publicly funded organizations to really demonstrate a viable path to fusion energy in the 2030s.
Whenever fusion energy does become a reality, Congressman Scott Peters says San Diego has been a big part of it.
Our energy future is being written right here in San Diego, and I look forward to working with you to continue to support you to make that happen.
Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
For job seekers, where are the best opportunities right now? As the labor market slows down, the number of sectors adding jobs is narrowing, and one economist says some trends track better for women than men. Karen Kafa is in Washington with what job hunters need to know.
As the job market slows across multiple sectors, economists note one in particular continues to grow.
Healthcare is an industry where, as the American population gets older, we should expect the demand for healthcare services to increase, and that's why we're seeing jobs growth continue very steadily in that sector.
Government jobs data for July shows healthcare and social assistance accounted for the entirety of the month's overall gains. And Laura Ulrich of the Indeed Hiring Lab says her analysis points to women in the driver's seat in those areas.
Healthcare and social assistance subsector made up almost all the job growth and from the July payroll employment report. And I thought that's got to be a high percentage of female employees. And indeed, it's almost 80% female.
Meanwhile, areas that were hot just a few years ago, like tech and finance, are peeling back. Economists have described the current state of the jobs market as no hire, no fire. Not a lot of layoffs, but employers not confident enough to hire either.
Uncertainty really is the theme for 2025. It's been a big driver for why the economy has slowed down over the course of the year, and it is probably the blocker that is going to prevent hiring from picking up through the rest of the year unless some of that uncertainty gets resolved.
Frustrated job seekers should note it's all cyclical.
Job market stagnancy and slow job market growth is going to be temporary. I think the question is, how long does that temporary state exist?
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
The wait is over for San Diego football fans. The Aztecs kick off their season tonight against Division I opponent Stony Brook. One key player to look out for this season, University of Michigan transfer Jaden Denengal. He will make his debut at quarterback. He was backup QB on the Wolverines' 2023 national championship winning team. In an interview today, Coach Sean Lewis seemed excited to start the season.
Football's here, right? I mean, it's we are San Diego's football team, so you know, I expect our community to show up and to show out and to create an advantage for us that will only get better and better as the year goes along.
Tonight also marks the start of Lewis's second season as head coach. The game starts at 7 p.m. at Snapdragon Stadium.
Well, there's been quite a bit of rain around recently, and even today the clouds were out. The good news is if you're looking for some drier, quieter times, I know there's been some flooding across parts of Southern California. We are not going to be contending with much more rain. We say goodbye to Juliet's moisture, and beyond that, then, it's a quiet holiday weekend, so just in time here for us, especially if you've got that 4-day weekend planned for Labor Day. Monsoonal moisture returns into the middle part of next week. Tonight, back down to 71 in the city as you work your way towards Oceanside, 65 degrees there, and head over towards places like Mount Laguna, 54 for your low tonight. Tomorrow, you can tell here, it's more of the same. In fact, we get the drier weather working in, very warm, but as you work your way farther east, you'll find some of that monsoonal flow still holding on across New Mexico and Colorado. So well out of our area, keeps things quiet. Again, tomorrow, 85 for the high as you look towards San Diego. Escondido coming in at 93, and Borrego Springs holding on to the lower triple digits, 101 for that high. Things are a little bit brighter for us. Not as many clouds you can watch. Most of that moisture just disappear as we head into the evening and overnight hours. And as that leaves tomorrow morning, largely quiet. We will have a little bit more clouds coming in from the Pacific, but only afternoon thunderstorm threat will be towards the Sierra in our state. So that's going to be very limited in our region then, obviously. As we take you through the coastal communities, holding on to the 80s the upcoming days. Beautiful weekend here, mostly sunny skies. We will have some more of that marine layer coming back to us as we venture into next week. Temperatures back into the 90s for our inland communities. Still looking at a bright, dry time. Mountain communities, 70s, comfortable weather here. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just beautiful. Hopefully you're able to get out and enjoy it. And it looks great too in the deserts where we hold on to the triple digits. Nothing unusual for this time of year. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
It was exactly 60 years ago tonight. The Beatles came to San Diego and rocked this city. The excitement had been building for weeks, and as Ken Kramer shows us, their performance remains to this day something unforgettable about San Diego.
First thing is Balboa Stadium, just to the east of San Diego High, where the Chargers played, where there used to be 34,000 seats, and where on August 28th of 1965, the Beatles came to perform in San Diego. Lee Lewis was a photographer with Channel 10. It was a very big thing. There were concerns. Could there be trouble? What about the crowds? The Beatles were coming.
And they were on a United States tour. And they'd had some problems, I believe, in a concert in L.A. With the fans. It wasn't really a riot, but they'd had some problems. So the San Diego police geared up pretty well, and they brought a whole busload of police officers down to San Diego Stadium, to Balboa Stadium, for that event.
Weeks of anticipation and publicity, thousands of excited fans.
There were a lot of teenage girls there, lots of them, and they were screaming and running around, and they were all excited, and you can see that on the black and white film ahead of time.
Susan Barron remembers, yes, she was really excited, and she had an idea.
I wrote a letter to the mayor of San Diego, Frank Curran, at the time, and asked if I could give a key to the city to the Beatles when they came.
The mayor wrote back, said, "Come to my office, we'll give you a key and a press pass. You and 3 other girls get to meet the Beatles. Follow them around wherever they go and give them keys to the city of San Diego, okay." Now, meantime, Lee Lewis was getting a press pass, too.
It was I believe it was a Saturday night, and they were going to have a press conference ahead of the actual concert.
Under the watchful eyes of police and security guards and concert promoters and public relations people, there they were, John, Paul, George, and Ringo, the Beatles, as photographed by Lee, whose job was to stand sort of in the back and shoot the general scene, and he wasn't alone.
This is my little camera that I used to take pictures at the press conference.
Susan also started snapping away pictures of the Beatles in San Diego that she took with her little Kodak 127 film flash camera. She doesn't remember what they talked about. Did they say this was a nice city to visit or a good place to play their music? She was just overwhelmed by the experience, feeling like she must be the luckiest 14-year-old in the world, especially when the news conference ended and she got to just spend some informal time with the Beatles.
John asked me to help tie his little shirt thing that he was wearing, and George was watching television, and just everyone was doing their own thing, and we were just, you know, milling about, and I just kept telling myself, don't cry, don't say anything stupid, because I didn't want to get kicked out of the, I didn't want to break any rules and be asked to leave, so I was petrified.
Finally, it was time for the concert itself. The press wasn't supposed to bring cameras in, but...
Well, I had a small silent Bell and Howell camera that I stuck under my coat.
And from a distance in San Diego, in that August of 1965 in Balboa Stadium, there they are. On just a few seconds of film, the Beatles in town. something in the scope of history that's really kind of rare. And afterward, the crowd did go a little crazy. They rushed at Susan, grabbing anything that had to do with the Beatles.
They took my press pass. They took a piece of chicken that Ringo had given me, which I was going to hold on to forever.
But when the concert was over and the Beatles left the venue, all these girls rushed out of the bleachers down to the grass, to the stadium grass, and they were pulling the grass out of the lawn where the Beatles had walked and were eating it.
There it is.
That's it.
And yes, Lee still has the camera he smuggled in under his coat in 1965.
So shame on you for sneaking here. You shouldn't have ever done that, but boy, am I glad you did.
Me too. Me too.
As for Susan Barron, now that the Beatles have become these historic, almost mythical figures in music and popular culture, it's even more astonishing what she was able to do just because she had the strength of inspiration to write that letter.
People used to say to me that, you don't talk about it very much, and it was just because it was so surreal to me that I don't think I believed I did what I did.
But she did, and he did, and all these years later now, they both have a pretty amazing story to tell about San Diego.
Oh, that is so cool. Lee Lewis, by the way, a legend at Channel 10. You can watch Ken Kramer's About San Diego at 8 tonight here on KPBS. And, of course, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. I'm John Carroll. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.